Hi, it's Fisher from Sewmate. Welcome to my channel. If you want to see how I make this beautiful flowy maxi dress, please stay tuned. This is going to be an easy, straightforward pattern making and sewing tutorial. Let's get on with it. You will need your basic bodice blocks to do this. I've got a tutorial on this channel on how you can make one for yourself. Go make one and then come and make this dress with me. Thank you. So first, trace around the pattern as usual, making sure to mark the dots. Lift your pattern, draw in your dots. From the hip line going down, lengthen your dress to your desired length for both sides and square down the hemline. Now back to the center front neckline, we're gonna go down by 5 centimeters and put a mark. Square a line that's 10 centimeters and put a mark. Extend the center front by 10 centimeters. Now transfer the same amount to a few more spots and draw a straight line like I'm doing here to the hemline. Extend these lines. At the armhole level, go down 2 centimeters and move in by 1 centimeter to adjust for a sleeveless armhole. Connect these 2 points with a straight line. The hip line, measure and mark down for 20 centimeters. Measure the same amount on a few places and draw a straight line. Extend the hip level out by 10 centimeters and connect these 2 points with a straight line. Now from the corner there, go up by 3.5 centimeters, put a mark. Square a little line across and just shape that area with a curved ruler. Cancel this line because we're not gonna use it. Now measure this line including the line that we cancelled, and whatever you get there, multiply by 1.5. We're gonna use this for our frill. Now extend this line to make up for the amount that we just got from the multiplication. Extend the same amount to the bottom line and square a line down to close it. So basically we've got a rectangle for our frill now. Add seam allowances to the top there, so I'm gonna put 2.5 centimeters for the casing, another 1 centimeter to turn under, then add another 1 centimeter seam allowance to the side there like I'm doing. Cut around your pattern. Now fold along this line and cut your pattern. Cancel your dart out because we're not gonna use it. Now we're going to put the center front of our frill on fold, and I'm drawing in my grain line there parallel to the center front and labeling the pattern dress frill. This is for the front, cut 1 on fold, and I put my initial. Top part is going to be gathered. Now add the seam allowance to the hem of your dress like I'm doing here, 1 centimeter, and cut around your pattern. Now labeling the pattern, front dress, cut 1 on fold, and I put my initial, and I'm gonna put the center front on fold, and now I'll use the original center front line as my grain line. Now putting notches around the pattern. Moving on to making our back dress, leave some space like we did with the front and trace around your pattern. Marking the darts, lift your pattern, draw in your dart, square in your waistline. Now lengthen your dress like we did with the front to your desired length. At the armhole, go down 2 centimeters and come in by 1 centimeter to adjust for the sleeveless and put a mark. At the neck level, go down by 5 centimeters at center back and put a mark. Square a line that's 13.5 centimeters, put a mark. So I used 13.5 there. At the armhole, I went down 2 centimeters, which is 3 centimeters because of 1 centimeter seam allowance there. The center back seam out by 7.5 centimeters since we've got a 1.5 centimeter zipper allowance there that we're not gonna use. So put the same amount on a few places and draw a straight line like we did with the front. Extend these lines and connect these 2 points with a straight line like we did with the front. At the hip line, go down 20 centimeters again and draw a straight line. Extend it out by 10 centimeters, put a mark, connect these 2 points with a straight line. From the point there, go up by 3.5 centimeters and put a mark. Square a little line down from there. With your curved ruler, correct the shape there and connect it with the point. Cancel this line out, cancel your dart out as well. Measure the bottom line, whatever you get, multiply it by 1.5 for our frill like we did with the front again. Draw a rectangle with the same amounts like we did with the front. We're going to put the center back on fold, and we'll put the center back for the dress on fold as well. Adding seam allowances there, 2.5 at the start and another 1. Fold along that line and cut around the pattern. Labeling the pattern, dress frill back, cut 1 on fold, and I put my initial. Then the top part will be gathered. Adding my grain line, adding grain line as well on the top dress, parallel to the center back, and labeling the pattern, back dress, cut 1 on fold, and I put my initial as well. Adding notches, just adding a seam allowance there at the bottom of the dress, 1 centimeter, and cutting around the pattern. Now on to making the necktie. Square a straight line on one end of the pattern paper and draw in the length of your necktie. I'm using 120 centimeters. Now put in the width of your necktie, multiply by 2. I'm using a 2 centimeter width, so I'm gonna put in 4 centimeters. Now adding seam allowances right round. This part is gonna be on fold and cutting around the pattern. Adding my grain line in the middle and labeling the pattern, necktie, cut 1 on fold, plus 1 fusing on fold as well, and I put my initial. Now for the waistband, just draw a rectangle that's about 100 centimeters by 10 centimeters because we're going to have a waistband of 5 centimeter width. Going to put this part on fold and adding seam allowances right round. Now adding my grain line in the center and labeling the pattern. Waistband, cut 1 on fold, or you can cut 2, and remember to add seam allowances if you choose that option. Okay. Plus 1 fusing on fold 2, or if you're using option 2, you have 2 fusing instead. Now adding notches and cutting around the pattern. Just putting a knot there to add the seam allowance for option 2. And our patterns are finished, and now we're moving on to sewing. So now we're moving on to sewing our dress, and you need your patterns and your nice fabric. I've got this beautiful navy blue floral crepe fabric, and also I've got my usual cutting tools. So now let's move on to cutting our dress. So we finished cutting all our pattern pieces, and the first step we're gonna do now is to fuse our necktie and our waistband. Okay, so let's put the fusing now. Okay, so that's done. I've applied my interfacing onto the necktie and the waistband piece. So I'll put this on the side for now. Now get your frill pieces, both the back and front. We're going to gather at the top. So make 2 rows of stitching with the longest stitch on your sewing machine, which is a gathering stitch, and just make sure to gather the top sections here for both the 2 pieces. I'm gonna do that now. Okay, I've done that. I've done the 2 rows of stitching. So now what you're gonna do is to just grab one of the threads, either top or bottom, just one of them for the 2 rows, and just gather your fabric like I'm doing here. Now just make sure that your gathers are evenly spaced at the top there. Now get your front piece and just try and match the frills along the edge here of the front pattern, like I'm doing here, and just pin along. Now do the same with the other one. Now take this to the sewing machine and sew along this seam here and overlock it, okay? Okay, so that's done. I've managed to join the dress to the frills, so now they're working as one piece. Now get your front and back pieces, lay them one on top of the other, right sides together like I'm doing here. Then pin along the side seams, making sure to match your seams for the frill here. So now take this to the sewing machine and sew along the side seams and overlock them. After that, just go ahead and hem your dress. I'm just gonna turn it twice like this, and just give it a top stitching. Let's do that. Okay, so the side seams and the hem are all nice and neatly done. So next what we're gonna do is to move on to the armholes. So to do our armholes, clip in here by about 1 centimeter. Make sure it's exactly 1 centimeter. Okay, both sides. Do the same on the other one too. So for your armholes, what you're gonna do now is to just roll this part twice like this and just give it a top stitching all through to this end, and do the same on the other side as well. So let's do that. Okay, so the armholes are nicely finished, as you can see, nice and neat. And I also went ahead and ironed them out nicely. So now what you're gonna do is to take this little piece here, turn it twice as well, and just top stitch it like we did with the armholes. Let's do that for all 4. Okay, so that's done. So this will help us have a clean finishing to our top casing. Okay, so now we're moving on to sewing the casings for our dress. So the first thing you do is to come to the top end here, just fold it under by 1 centimeter and iron it flat. Okay, 1 centimeter and iron it flat. When you finish with that, fold it using these notches here. Fold it back again with the 1 centimeter under already like this, and fold it at the notch and give it another press. Let's do that. Okay, now after giving it a press, I think the best way is actually to just pin it along the edges here. So now just take this to your sewing machine and just give it an edge stitching right here at the bottom for both the back and front. Whilst we're there, we're going to sew our necktie and waist tie as well. So what you're gonna do, take your waist tie, fold it in half backwards like this, pin it along the edges, do the same with the waist tie. So now take this to your sewing machine and sew all around the edges here except for one end. Okay, leave one end unsewn so that we'll be able to turn it over through that end. Do the same with your necktie. We'll do that now. Okay, so all these things are done. Waist tie sewn, and we finished with sewing the casings as well for the dress. Nice and neat. So next we're going to take our waist tie and necktie and cut off a little bulk from the corners like I'm doing here. And from there we're going to try and turn this over to the right side for both. Okay, let's do that. Now take this to your iron and just iron them nice and flat, making sure that the seam here will be right at the edge. Okay, let's do that. Okay, our ties are nice and neat and they're quite straight now. So I just tucked under the other end, and I'm just gonna go to the sewing machine and give it a top stitch. I did the same with the other tie as well, tucked under the other end, and I'm just gonna give it a top stitch here to close it. Let's do that. Okay, so that's done. We've closed the other end that was open with a nice top stitch. Now we're going to insert our necktie through the neck casings. So get one end of your necktie and just pin it with the safety pin like I'm doing here. Now just push it through the casing like I'm doing here. Okay, so our dress is finished, nice and neat, and I'm happy with the result. Thank you.